my pretties, it's the Queen of Lions here, and welcome to episode 114 on Shadows and Pretties, where I will be reviewing, horror movies and any kind of movies, video games, etc. Well, today I am going to be reviewing on a horror movie. Now, as you may know, we are approaching October, and Halloween's going to be coming up, at the end of October, which I am very super excited because, I love Halloween, I like Christmas and everything else. So, and as for the month of October, I'll be doing, horror-related stuff or even Halloween-related movies. Now, today in this case, I am going to be doing a review on a Shadows of Pretties review on a horror movie. Now, today I am going to be talking about a 2018 movie called The Farm. Now, this is a movie that a lot of people really dislike, and I will be explaining why this movie was disliked. But before I go ahead and explain, why the movie was, disliked by, critics and all that, I can't find, like, a Wikipedia page for this, but I only found this one on a horror film, wiki site, so, yeah. I do apologize if none of this, some of the information I'm about to explain, is accurate or anything. But this movie, called The Farm, is a 2018 American horror film. Now it involves, a young couple who ends up getting kidnapped and being treated like farm animals after stopping at a roadside diner to fresh meat. So that's basically the synopsis of the film. It's basically about a young couple. So, I'm going to sit here and, kind of talk about this movie called The Farm. Now, I'm going to let you know ahead. Now, I'm going to be spoiling pretty much everything about this movie. And I am going to say I have to censor, a good chunk of some, bit of details. Because some bit of detail may not be, may be sensitive because of YouTube's, system is broken nowadays. But yeah, I'm going to censor most of the stuff that is, kind of depending on the subject matter as best I can. Although, I don't really know what to... I'm just honestly going to be reviewing this movie called The Farm. Kind of, explain, what the plot of the movie is about, in case if you guys don't know. And then I'll be giving my final thoughts on the movie at the end. Now, I looked on, Google, and I saw that the ratings were like 1 out of 5 stars. So it's definitely not a great movie from what I could see for myself. From what I could see. But, yeah. I kind of came across this movie about maybe a few months ago. I think it might have... No, wait, not a few months ago. I kind of heard of this movie maybe about a week or so ago. And I decided to give this movie a watch. Thinking maybe it's a pretty good movie. Because, me being a horror movie fan, I watch a lot of horror movies and all that. So... yeah, I'm going to go ahead and, review what this movie is, but I am going to warn you guys now that I will be spoiling pretty much everything about the movie, so if you have not seen this movie, please do not watch this, Shadows and Pretties episode if you have not seen it and you don't want any spoilers, because I will be sitting here and saying this, that there's a few videos of it on YouTube. You guys can go and watch this movie if you haven't, if you want to, see what the movie is like for yourselves. And you can feel free to, give me your thoughts and opinions on this movie in the comments below. So anyways, yeah, let us begin with this, shall we? So basically this takes place about a Los Angeles couple named Nora and Alec. They get lost while driving through the countryside until they come across a way station to pull over. When they find it closed, Nora, needing to use the bathroom, goes to the back and finds the remains of a camp, where she finds a discarded wallet and cell phone. So, back in the car, Nora then talks to Alec about the abandoned camp in the behind the way station, noting the things that were left behind. Alec is not too worried about this discovery, but he's more concerned about the car running low on gas. So, further on, the couple encounter a woman whose car has died, and Alec offers to jump start her car, which the woman accepts. So while Alec goes over to bring the car with his cables, the woman asks Nora if she's married to Alec, which Nora states it's none of her business, which the older woman decides to take offense to and state people like her are irresponsible and begins insulting them. So, of course, Alec ends up not fixing the car, much to the woman being, a total, well, Karen, I guess we could say. And I'm not gonna lie, the woman in that film kind of does look like a Karen, just to be honest. Tells, Alec and Nora tells Alec to leave, so they leave behind a woman. Well, the woman was an older woman, so I have to say she's kind of like a Karen. I mean, I like how the films, like every single horror movie or, every movie in general I see, there's always have to be a Karen in it, which is quite funny to be honest, although I really am not trying to sound insulting or anything, I'm just stating the facts. So, after they find a diner along the way, the two enter for a meal, but Alec notices that the male person was staring at them. So, they decide to leave. Just as Nora goes to the door, a man tells her that she's not safe here, and Nora shrugs it off off as warning. So the couple leave the diner, and Alec is concerned about the man, but Nora thinks that he's just a weirdo creep. So they stop at the gas station to fill up the car. Alec asks the cashier for a place to lodge and is directed to some rental cabins up the road. So they found a rustic cabin. Nora is creeped out by the place and intentionally thinks of it to be empty. But they are shocked when the appearance of a crooked-faced landlord. The landlord greets them and, hearing that they're looking for a room, guides them to a cabin and they enter a conversation. Although Nora finds the man to be disturbing and cuts the dialogue short, so basically something really strange begins happening about this man that the couple notices. So the top bunk bed of the room is bloodstained, so the pair go to bed. But when they go to sleep, a man with a sheep mask then has been hiding beneath the frame, climbs up above beneath the bed, and he looms over the couple. And then the next morning, Nora wakes up to find herself in a wired dog cage, so she attempts to free herself and calls for Alec, but a goat masked man appears and thumps at her cage to be quiet. So, taking the chance, Nora spots a rock outside her cage, and with difficulty, she manages to squeeze her hand through the cage and uses the rock to attempt to bash the lock off the cage. So the goat man eventually returns with the man wearing a cow mask, who proceeds to pour some canister, hot water or something, over her head and passes out. So Nora wakes up to be strapped onto the chair, and a rabbit mask vet comes in and proceeds to forcibly, I'm not going to really say it, but if you've seen the movie, he basically inserts something in her, private area. I'm not going to say what he actually did, because if you've seen The Farm, you probably can understand what he did. And so Nora gets put in the cage, and she's been pulled into a cart and sees other masked men and women along with various chores. She even spots one butchering a corpse and has been taken to a barn where she gets locked in the stable. However, though, Alec wakes up to find himself in the cage as well and is gagged, but he's not alone, as there's other men who are there as well. He watches in horror as a masked man comes in and begins bashing captive men with the hammer from the tops of the cage before getting them onto a control pole like animals. Of course, he is an unconscious body, along with the other men, are taking the trolley to like a slaughterhouse or something. So it is revealed that the compound has been farming a commune full of silent people wearing animal masks. Now, the best thing I really do like is that, they're silent killers or silent, villains or anything like that, because I know there is a couple of horror movies that dealt with, villains who are, silent and they don't talk at all, such as the pig masks from Saw, Jason from, Friday the 13th, Michael Myers from Halloween, and yeah, there's other villains that are silent as well. I think Leatherface is silent too. I'm not really sure because I haven't really watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre in a while. But that's basically, the kind of villains that are in here, is that men and women in, animal masks, which I think is pretty neat because I think they kind of got inspired by, Friday the 13th, and, other horror movies that have dealt with, those kind of, things. But yet again, I really don't know because I haven't really watched them too much in a really long time. So, I guess, with that being the case, it is revealed the compound is far many people with wearing masks, so the livestock being humans, men are being captured and killed for meat, and women are raised for milk. So the meat that was used to supply the catering service for like weddings and the like the landlord has having to be taken in order requires for more meat. So he decides to use one of the dairy livestock. But at the dairy barn where there's several women are helped for being for being used like kind of like cows in a sort of way for milk. Now, I'm not going to say exactly what they actually did because, well, YouTube, it's probably not really ad friendly to say it, but you guys can really imagine that. So, a mother has been in a cage and caring for her baby. So, one of the masked men takes her baby, proceeds to measure its weight before killing it. I'm not gonna. It's really kind of sensitive for those who are kind of squeamish on some of these these movies. So yeah, I found that scene with that masked man killing the child being a baby being a little squeamish, but I wasn't really too squeamish to the fact that I sworn off horror forever. No. So the landlord and his men leave. The mother hysterically cries for a child, but one of the people, an unmasked, slow-minded man named Andrew, attempts to console her, though he speaks to her like a pet, and only for the woman to lash out at him, calling him sick. So he basically, Andrew basically kills her, and the landlord finds out that the woman has been killed, and he reports to find Andrew. So Nora discovers another captive next to her stall, which is a woman who has been in the barn for like 2 years, and she asks her what's going on, and she answers that she doesn't want to know. So the woman explains that the people who run the place spied on her and Alec at the rest stop that they had passed, and the woman reveals that she had been held in the farm for 2 years and was bred to the point where she can no longer get pregnant anymore, and is relieved that she will be soon dead. So hearing another crying, it was the woman who appears to be Ashley, who is another 2-year-old captive. Nora tries to give her support to Ashley, stating that they'll escapes, but Ashley, on the other hand, states that, escaping is impossible as they always will find them. Elsewhere, one of the masked men finds Andrew in the slaughterhouse, playing with a pair of, heads. When Andrew begs that it wasn't his fault, he gets dragged back to the landlord. So the landlord scolds Andrew for leaving his post at the gas station and to stop playing with his food. Andrew is then placed under supervision of one of the farm hands and has been freed from the cage from the men for the meals. However, he accidentally tips a pot of food over, causing him to run in fear as punishment. So running to the greenhouse, he grabs an oregano for the landlord in the kitchen, who happily accepts it, and the preceding farmhand comes in to reprimand Andrew and is later ordered to take care of the woman who can't produce milk. So Nora watches the other woman being, killed like an ant, like meat, before her eyes. So the butchers leave and Nora collapses in despair, only to be roused by a sound at the door, and Alec, who is bloodied and hurt and injured, has found out to be alive. The two escape the stables quietly, attempting to avoid the farmhands, making their way across the property, but Nora supports the injured Alec to a truck. The truck will not start, and the two are forced to keep moving to avoid one of the masked people. Coming to a church, the two rest, and then they notice the faces of Jesus and his followers were replaced by farm animals alike. A cow masked man enters the church, briefly praying at this pew. The couple attempts to sneak out, only to be discovered. Nora flees with Alec and is pursued by a cow man who rings the bell, alerting the rest of the farm. While running, Alec gets caught in a bear trap and Nora tries to free him, but seeing the approaching farmhands, she's left with no choice and abandons him. In the mercy of his captors, Alec gets killed by those masked men. In the male barn, Nora decides to hide in the wall just as Andrew and the landlord come in, and one of the male captives sees her and silently tells her to hide. So Nora quickly rushes to his cage and begs him on how to get out of the farm. So basically he says, with great hesitation, that there is a bus that the farmhands use to transport their catch and location of the keys. So Nora makes her way out to the lot where several cars are parked. one of the masked people appears to be his back turned to her, so she takes the opportunity to bash his head with a hammer. The free mask people spot and rush after her. Nora gets on one of the cars and starts driving through the fence, only for it to be shortly run out of gas. So she's chased by through the grounds, but eventually making her way back to the stables where she frees Ashley. So the two make their way to the bus, only to have no keys. So Nora ends up going to the house where the male prisoner stayed where it was, and enters the door or window to going back to the car. Nora and Ashley board the vehicle. The former tries to start the bus, and however, the women find that the back of the bus is now filled with masked people who have been waiting for them. So basically, the masked people killed them, and later at the end, they've been prepared like roast pigs with apples in their mouths, which, yeah, the two protagonists, apparently the protagonists of the film, Nora, and then secondary one, Ashley, are end up killed in the movie. So that is basically the plot of the Farm movie that came out in 2018. Now, I don't hate this movie. I do have some good things to say about it. Like, the acting was pretty good, especially with the mask, men, like animals, walking around and all that. I mean, it's pretty creative to use, animal masks instead of, using, like, kind of like how Jason uses, like, a hockey mask. Michael Myers has, like, a fake mask, and etc. I'm really glad it did not ended up like that, but yet again, who really knows? I mean, there are a few things that I do have to say that, it's a pretty good concept for what this movie was. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was really an interesting idea, but it was poorly executed in a way. Like, the music was highlighted as well as the setting they choose to film it. I mean, the place of the idea was great, but, however, though, the script needed a big revision. Like, there was a lot of scenes that didn't make sense, such as the characters teleporting around, turning up in strange places, acting like terrible. I think the direction of inconsistent was not good. Sound was bad on and off, and it was hard to hear what was going on at times. Like, I think would have been better if the movie was revised in a sense, because in that way the movie could have had, a potential better explanation to what this one really is. I mean, like, I know a lot of people say that, it's a worse movie or something, but in my opinion, it's not the worst movie I've seen. Like, well, I've seen, like, tons of other, worst, lot of other worst, what do you call it? Yeah, other worst horror movies. But this one is just one of them that I really just didn't care for. I mean, there was really few really disturbing scenes to shock viewers, in a sense. Like, I mean, the plot was good nonetheless, and it was a good idea, but it did have some holes in it. Like, for the first half of the film in the farm, I was introduced, yeah, it's one of those sick movies I like to sit there, give it a shot at them. But when it felt like it skipped some scenes, I still don't know why or how it happened. It was really ridiculous until the end of this moment where everything happened too fast. But I mean, it was a good idea for what this plot is, but it was poorly made. I guess maybe it wasn't really that interesting or something. I really don't know. Like, I mean, I'm not saying I hate this movie. Like, I don't. Like, I mean, I thought it was going to be one of the movies where, the girls, escape and have a happy ending, but no. Apparently, it's one of the endings where, the villains win. So, like, I'm not against the idea of having the villains win in these movies or anything like that. I have nothing against people who like those kind of movies or anything, but in my opinion, it just didn't really work out that great in this film. At least to my eyes, that is. Well, that's just basically all I have to say about the movie. Like, it's not a terrible movie, but it does need work. Like, I mean, the idea of its own self did look interesting, but it just didn't really work out great. At least, it just was poorly executed in a sense, if you get what I said. Okay, Now, this movie was meh, not a fan of it. I would watch it maybe for guilty pleasure, but that's just about it. Anyways, that being the case, that being said, I'm gonna give this movie maybe a 4 out of 10. I'm giving the movie a 4 out of 10 because the plot seemed interesting and all that, but the fact that it just went from 1 to 100 with, too many unnecessary, scenes and all that. I mean, like, I'm not against the idea, but I do wish that the idea was revised. Like, maybe a revised, in a sense, where it would make it more, believable and interesting. Then that way it would have been, a pretty good movie. But other than that, this movie was meh. Not a crazy fan of it. I don't hate it. I'm not crazy on it. Like, I mean, it's a guilty pleasure of me to watch. That's one of the films that I would, rate this as, is that. But, anyways, what did you guys think of this movie, The Farm? Did you like it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make the movie a lot better, feel free to leave me now what your thoughts are on the comments below. Feel free to leave me now what your thoughts and opinions on the movie. Anyways, I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you're new to my channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, I'll see you all in the next episode. And as always, I'll see you all next time. Peace out.